Hello, YouTube! Today I'm going to talk about feminism's negative impact on women. Okay, disclaimer, I don't believe that all forms of feminism are bad, or that everything that feminism has ever worked for is bad, or that it inherently is bad. I referenced this in my last video, but the Women's Christian Temperance Union, which was super instrumental in helping women gain the right to vote, their goal was to apply biblical principles of social justice to larger society. So they're trying to extend that equality to more people in actual practice in legal terms. And that's why I call it a biblical feminism. I believe there is a biblical way to be feminist, but I don't identify as one because if you say I'm feminist, that is not what people are thinking of, and that is just not the reality of what it is at this moment. Okay, in 2018 in the United States, and again, I'm specifically talking about Western culture, more particularly the United States. I'm not talking about all around the world right now. Okay, so I have 5 reasons, particular areas that I believe feminism has had a negative impact on women. The first one is the promotion of a career woman. Okay, before everybody gets super mad, I'm really not talking about saying, oh, women shouldn't have jobs or women shouldn't have careers. But what I am saying is I believe that there is this overemphasis on achieving great things in your career. And I don't think that there's very much push for create the life that you want. Choose what you want. If you want to be a mom, fantastic. I'll talk about that actually in the next point. But even within the career people, what I see is people complaining that there's not more women in the top 100 CEOs or of, top 100 of Fortune 500 companies or something. Like, why is that necessarily a problem? Maybe women didn't choose to do that. I think that there are lots of women who are very successful in business, in careers, in starting their own companies, who are nowhere near that level of success. But I think what we should do is empower women and say, choose your success. And so I see progress when I see women who created their own online businesses and are living the life that they want, right? So it doesn't have to be a problem that there's not more people in that particular thing. And so I don't think they have to be these like high-powered, positions that really take up their life. I believe that it is a fact that more women tend in general to care more about work-life balance than men. Women tend to not want to work like crazy. It doesn't mean they aren't hard workers. It's just maybe they're a little bit more into intentional living than men, which actually sounds in a way like an insult to men. But I don't believe that we're necessarily made the same way that men are. And anyway, so even within the scope of career women, it doesn't have to be high-powered career women who are, working at the stock exchange. No, I've heard actually multiple accounts of women who did work the stock exchange, were very miserable, and then started their own business and are creating more of what fits them and their strengths and what they really want. The second point is that it is an attack on motherhood. I do believe this because there is so much. Basically, no, don't have your children and raise your children and love your children. Kill your children. I'm sorry, but it is. And if somebody is watching this who has had an abortion, honestly, I believe to some extent women are a victim in this. Not that I promote victim mentality, but I don't believe that. Right now, when society is pretty much saying like, oh, it's all about your choice, you choose, whoever is the dad of that baby shouldn't have much opinion. It's all about you and your body and what you want. And that's what you're being taught. It's going to be hard to view it certain ways. And then I'd imagine it would be very hard to then, if you later want to have a child, then you get that ultrasound and you were excited, but you're like, this is when I had my abortion. And now it's a really, really tough situation. And that culture is doing that. And that's totally the enemy at work, trying to distort our view so we do things that we don't know what we're doing. We don't think through it fully. And the way he changes it into a different perception. But it's like, you have to ask yourself, when does that life begin? And if the life has already began, ending a life is never the answer. There's other answers, but that's not it. Then it's not even just that as far as the attack on motherhood. It's that hyper focus on being a career woman. And I think that even does happen in the church. Like I've talked about that in my previous video, which was a response to the not full of grace, really did not come across well, article about men prefer debt-free virgins with no tattoos. I wrote a response to that, but in that I was talking about how I was basically trying to encourage normalizing women, the idea of just identifying, I do want to be a stay-at-home mom, like this is my plan A. Have a plan B, but admit that that's your plan A, and then prepare accordingly and make decisions accordingly. But that's so unpopular even within the church. Even within the church, if somebody's in high school, it's like, of course, go to college, get a career, invest in that. And then it's only when somebody has a baby that you then start hearing about, the verses in Titus about being a wife and a mom and staying busy at home, and any of that. And I don't think that it's definitive as far as God's plan for every single woman or anything like that. But I think especially in the church, that should be known, and that conversation should be happening, and it should be okay and not totally outlandish for a young woman to say that is what their goal is. And I think that even growing up in a more conservative area, even that was would be really far out there, and I would have thought it was absolutely crazy when I was younger. And the world has become so much more influenced by feminism now than it was 10 years ago. The third one is an attack on marriages. So this idea of being independent and this disdain towards the idea of having a quiet spirit or of being meek is not helpful in a marriage, and it can actually create situations that can lead to divorce. For instance, if you have two jobs that are kind of jarring against each other, and one person needs to live one place, the other person needs to live another place for the career, and then a lot of people end up just saying, well, okay, we'll just be separate, we'll just live separately, we'll just commute. But then what is that prioritizing? But then it's hard because it's like, whose career do you choose? Well, the Bible has an answer for that, and that is the woman is supposed to submit to the husband. And so the husband needs to pray over it and make a decision about what is best for the family, and then the woman is supposed to submit and accept it, just as Jesus accepted his fate of being crucified on a cross. And he did that, and so we can submit to that situation. And that can really save marriages if the woman takes it with a positive attitude. But a lot of times that's not what we're encouraged to do, and then we're told that that's being oppressed, or it's told that if a woman stays home, that's slavery, and they're being oppressed by their husband. And a lot of times that is just not realistic. I will say caveat, obviously, if we're talking about a situation of actual domestic abuse, please get out of there, get safe, tell a family member, somebody who can help support you in transitioning away from that marriage. But I'm talking about more healthy relationships where it's man says A, woman says B, they have a disagreement, what are they going to do? And it's all within nothing. We're not talking about sin, right? We're not talking about the man telling the woman to do something wrong, just about choices. Feminism tends to tell men to stop being men and to stop being a protector, and women do like to be a protector. Actually, there was a study, I'll have to try to find a link, that was talking about even among radical feminists, I don't know what kind of survey they did, but it was like they preferred what they called basically nice sexism, where it was like, men opening doors, or men, paying the bill on the first date, or things like that. And even they did like that. And so we're not talking about bondage stuff and sexual domination, but we're talking about basically being a gentleman. And it's not helpful when a woman does want to be pursued, but then men are being told not to pursue. It just creates this weird dynamic that's not helpful for relationships. It's not helpful for dating. It's not helpful for helping people who want to get married because men don't know what to do. There was some other survey where it was like, oh my gosh, almost 30% of guys on campus thought that it was sexual harassment to ask a woman out to drinks. Like, this is this is not helpful for the dating and marriage and family life. The next one is an attack on beauty, and this is kind of an interesting one because there's that verse about, you know, adorning yourself with a quiet spirit instead of, you know, braids and this and that, and physical beauty, because that's fleeting, and that's true. But here's the thing, Psalm 31 or Proverbs 31 does involve talking about the woman dressing well, and God just is a fact. Like, there are so many women, I'm not going to say all women, but most women want to be beautiful, and we have this desire. So then to act like we're bad for wanting to look pretty, yes, sometimes for men, it's just not helpful. It's not helpful because then it's like denying your natural desire. It's denying what would help you find a spouse. It's denying it does help in marriage, because of course your husband wants you to continue to look good. Like, there's always jokes about, you know, people like totally giving up on themselves. So it's just not helpful. And then I think the enemy really is at work in trying to emasculate men and trying to make women more masculine, to make it more equal, and then you get into the whole trans issue and this and that, and it's just, you're really getting very far from God's design. The last one is that it is an attack on relationships with just anyone, okay? Like, there's the whole, you know, women should stop apologizing, and it's like, you know what, if women do something rude, or not even rude, but like, it's just polite to apologize at times. And obviously there are situations if somebody is constantly apologizing when it's not appropriate, but like if you interrupt a meeting, if you talk over somebody, if you know, things like that, man or woman should apologize. And you know what? It's not horrible if women lead the world in being more tactful. I think that is part of the idea of having a more like humble and gentle spirit. And part of being more sensitive and to be gentle with people and to have that quiet spirit that I'm going to talk about in the next video, but it's not about, you know, the volume of your voice or ever saying anything important, but is more about that more unifying, grace-filled demeanor and attitude. And if you reject that part of you, and if you reject that agreeableness, that is not really helpful. It's fine to learn how to be productively assertive, but to reject the part of you that is agreeable, that's not going to make you any friends, right? So that's just going to hurt relationships all across the board in all of society. And of course, also, if you're spouting out anti-men rhetoric and, you know, trying to promote policies that directly hurt men, that's not going to make men feel any more friendly towards women. So I'm looking forward to my next video about biblical femininity. If you like what I'm sharing and want to hear more about these topics, then hit the like button to let me know that you like it, and also hit the subscribe button and notifications so that you do not miss a video. I have new videos coming out every Tuesday, and do let me know in the comments if you want to hear more about biblical womanhood, femininity, feminism, all of these things, because I'm thinking about just making my channel all about that, and drop some of the other topics. So let me know if that's something that's interesting to you guys. All right, peace, bye.